What's up, everybody? This is your host, Nathan Shields, aka Osiren, welcoming you to another episode of the PowerUp podcast. Remember to check us out at www.powerupfighters.com and also subscribe to our RSS feed and also this podcast via iTunes. Now, my guest today is Ghaleon, who you have heard before in my interviews with NKI and Brent Whirling, Immortal BMW. And Ghaleon is on today talking about tournament organization, how you can, some general tips, kind of the tips and tricks section, how you can run a good tournament. A lot of very good details and things you may not think about when you're running a tournament, that things he's learned over the years running seasons beatings and helping out all over the Midwest and all the tournaments that he's gone to. And also we talk about how players can elevate themselves in the community, traveling to majors, being noteworthy for some reason, getting like your niche, that special thing about your play style that makes people remember you, playing money matches, things like that. Ghaleon always has something good to talk about, and it's great always to talk with him. I really hope you guys enjoy the podcast, and I will catch you later. Okay, well, I don't think we need to introduce you because, well, I don't know, since this will be technically before the season's beatings podcast, I guess people may not know exactly who you are except for the podcast we did with Brent. So, I don't know, just catch people up. Who are you?
My name's Chris Hatala. I'm a Ghaleon on the boards. I'm from Cleveland and Columbus in Ohio, and I've been running Seasons Beatings tournament series since, 4 years ago? Yeah. And I've been a Third Strike good player, for the region, and Third Strike and Marvel for a number of years. And there you go.
All right, well, let's just jump right into Seasons Beatings. Now, I know you didn't want to talk about things that you and Fuji already had, and that was more of the Seasons Beatings history lesson and a little bit about SB4. So let's go into like the nitty-gritty of tournament organization. So what is like the first step now that you're... Let's forget about maybe like how you got established, but SB4, for example, what are some of the first things that you do in order to kind of set the groundwork for the event?
One of the first things that you have to do to be a good tournament organizer is to have connections. And that's one thing that Fuji was always good at, and that's why part of why we started doing this series in the first place is because Fuji had the connections with players to be able to bring them to Ohio. And it started with Justin Wong, and then, it branched out from there and just got crazy.
Now, was that just him, his personal experiences? Had he lived in California, or had he lived in New York or on the East Coast for a while?
He lived in, he grew up in New York, and he also, he lived out west when he was a teenager, and that's actually where he got good at Street Fighter 2 when it was new.
Okay.
And he played out west. But, yeah, he's been in Ohio for as long as I've known him, which has been like 6 years now, I guess. And I've just been in Ohio my whole life. But we just started traveling to these majors and everything. And since he was basically like a pro player, at Street Fighter 2, and he's also older than most players. Like he's in his early 30s. And So he's just very personable. He's very charismatic. So he just kind of made friends with a lot of these top players and everything just by being himself.
Nice.
And that's kind of how we got to know these guys.
So that's setting the groundwork for your main events and getting people to, like, these are the people that are going to bring more people.
Yeah, exactly. That's been our goal the last, really, 3 years since Seasons Beatings 2. And even the mid-year tournament that we had right after SB1, we came up with kind of a gimmick to get people here to play Justin. So that's kind of been the groundwork. Because after the first one was successful, we knew that we could run one every year. And the first question immediately would be, okay, what kind of event, what can we do to make our tournament different? and really hype that other tournaments aren't doing.
Do you feel that any starting out tournament or anyone who is planning on, okay, we've had a few tournaments, so let's see if we can launch some sort of regional thing, do you think they need not necessarily connections, but some sort of, I don't want to say gimmick because it kind of has a negative connotation, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's basically what it is, to get people to come. Do you think that there needs to be some sort of really catchy main event or some special aspect of the tournament that goes beyond just coming and playing? It has to be something a little bit more mouth-watering, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good idea, and it's kind of, we're not entirely sure why other tournament organizers. Can you still hear me? Okay, my mic's being okay. Yeah, we're not sure why more tournaments don't do stuff like that, because even at one of our tournaments, we had Brent Vega from Indiana. We had him play Justin as an event. Just obviously Brent. I mean, he's really, really good, but obviously he's not like the number 2 player in the world or the country or anything. But he was like a good player, so it's like we wanted to showcase our regional talent versus Justin. So it doesn't have to be like the absolute best players that you're gonna have at your event even or anything. It should be something. Just come up with something interesting, kind of a grudge match kind of thing, and just to get people hype about something, just to get people interested.
And that doesn't even have to be like Justin Wong. Small people, well, not small people, but people are thinking of running their first tournament. Like me, it's like, Justin Wong, how would I get him to come to Cincinnati, Ohio, or wherever, or small town Ohio, or Indiana, Midwest, anyways. And it's like, well, you don't need to do that. I mean, if you've got the local scene, then you've probably got some grudge matches and some cool stuff that you could probably run to bring in the local people,
Yeah, exactly.
Like I could have what's his name, Vulcan, the Balrog player, younger guy. I could have him, play like 5 people in a row or something crazy like that, See if anybody can take him down.
Have him a rematch versus Gin Master.
Right, exactly. I'm sure everyone would love that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
So it's the connections, it's the sort of like, we'll call it creative tournament organizing. You need to have that little spark to your tournament that's going to make people stop and, hey, what's this thread? And check it out.
Yeah, I would say, that's one part. And then if there's 2 other parts, I would say for if you're just starting out with tournaments, what we did with Seasons Meetings 1, in addition to getting Justin there, but part of that was also we put up more money for our first tournament than we knew we could take back. We could get back in terms of venue fee, because we charged a small venue fee, and we gave pot bonuses for a couple games.
Okay.
And that's pretty much the best way to get people to pay attention to a brand new tournament. Just put up, Street Fighter 4, and have the normal like 70, 20, 10 split, but also say like, $200 extra for, the Street Fighter 4 prizes. Like that's the other best way to say like, okay, you're, a legit tournament and you've got the backing and you apparently know what you're doing, because most people won't put up a chunk of change if, they have no clue how to run a tournament.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Very cool. Sometimes I wonder though, it's like sometimes people will guarantee that kind of stuff and it still feels a little shady.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the chance you take sometimes.
Yeah, and it's like, but it still makes people want to pull the trigger, and if people don't know you or you're not from the SRK community especially, people will usually be a little leery, but there's nothing you can do outside of people going to the guy's tournament and just seeing what happens.
That's true, very true. So then, what's the second part?
Oh, the other part of running a good tournament is your communication with the players. And you can just put up, like, I'm going to a tournament right before the Indiana tournament at the end of the month, and it's just at the Twinsburg, Ohio library, which is pretty much down the street for me. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't go,
Yeah.
And they're running it. Like, I don't mean to, like, call these guys out or anything, but they're new guys and everything, so they have not run Street Fighter tournaments before. And they're going to run it on 360 and their prize package. I think they're running like they're not giving out like as much money as a normal tournament would.
Hmm.
Basically, they're just doing a flat rate, and it doesn't matter how many people show up.
Oh yeah,
And
that's right. I read that
yeah,
thread.
and it's I think it's just like they just want to run their first tournament and see how it goes and everything.
Mm.
But to really, I'm like I said, I'm not trying to pick on these guys. I hope it goes well and that they kind of change their format for the next one.
Right. This is
But
just constructive criticism.
yeah. But yeah, listening to what the players want in for a tournament is really, really important.
Right.
And keeping like also you have to keep a lot of people don't understand that you have to keep a really positive attitude when you're dealing with the players.
Mm.
Because when you're a tournament organizer, it can feel like everybody is just like giving you crap, and people will be negative just 'cause, they might have made just some throwaway comment. But if the tournament organizer, you might feel that like differently because I'm trying to put on this event and why doesn't anyone appreciate it? Blah blah blah.
Right. Yeah. I just
Gotta
got out of like stopping somebody from throwing their controller against the wall, and you're giving me crap. Are you
yeah.
serious?
Yeah, so you got to shelve your ego. You got to shelve your negative feelings
Mm.
towards some of the players, and deal with everyone as politely and as professionally as you can.
Very strong communication skills. Probably something people don't always consider.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it firsthand. That
Yeah.
I guess just people for some reason just don't think about these things, and it's pretty a number one thing of importance that just comes up in my mind, and just people ignore it, and that can really be the death knell for your event.
Hmm. Definitely sounds so. Let's see here. So how about let's talk some physical stuff like the hardware, the event venue. What do you think, in your opinion, makes a good venue?
You really just need space and tables.
Hmm.
That's the basic requirement to having a fighting game tournament. But like one of the things that we liked about finding this Momo's place in Columbus was that the place kind of has a lot of class. It's got food, drink on the premises.
Hmm.
It's got high def TVs along the walls, so you can be watching the news or watching a Buckeyes game while you're at our tournament.
Hmm.
It had billiards in the back. It's got a bowling alley. It's good. The first thing you got to worry about obviously is the space to run your tournament. Space for all the systems, all the gamers.
Hmm.
But if you've got a good area that's got food within walking distance, drinks, like that stuff is actually really important too, and it really adds to people wanting to come to your event because it's like it's they're not going to have to drive to do all these things because people are stuck there for a whole day at a tournament.
Yeah.
And if you've got other forms of entertainment, even if it's just going to be a diversion for someone for like 15, 20 minutes, whatever, those things are important too.
Very cool. How much should someone rely on the players to bring equipment?
Oh, you really don't have much of a choice.
Hmm.
That's part of why like being in contact with your local players is really important too, because you need to trust that your players, your friends, are going to come through for you,
Right.
for a tournament.
Yeah.
And like between when we were thinking about organizing Seasons Meetings 4 this year, Fuji and I had to go through the list of, okay, how many PlayStation 3s off the top of our head are we going to be able to round up, And just immediately we came up with like 15 or 16 between me and him and my friends in Cleveland and our friends in Columbus.
Mm.
We came up with a good 16 systems or so. And so obviously if we were just trying to do this on our own and we didn't know any of the players or anything, it would be a real pain.
Definitely.
Especially now with the PlayStation 3, it's been the tournament standard for high-def gaming since Tekken 5 DR came out. But now we've got so many games, and Street Fighter 4 especially is so popular that you really have to be on top of the players in your scene to help with hardware.
Definitely. Let's see here. What should the next thing be? Hmm. How about advertising? How did you advertise the first and second season's beatings?
I don't barely even remember.
Okay,
So
well,
long.
how are you planning on advertising SB4 beyond the thread, if at all?
Yeah, we're gonna try to do a little bit more this year. For last year, we had really nice poster kind of flyers made up. They were bigger, than a flyer,
Right.
but they were about poster size. Fuji's got one of them in his room. They look really nice.
Nice.
We made up some of those to hype up the events that we're having.
Mm-hmm.
I think we did that for SB2 as well. We made a couple posters. Even for the first tournament that we had after SB1, the Mission Impossible mid-year tournament, we were making flyers and everything.
Where did you distribute them?
Pretty. We made them to. I think the first one we might have just posted on Shoryuken. We might have also posted it around Ohio State campus and everything. But what I want to do this year is once Ohio State's school starts back up at the early September, I want to try to make sure that the posters that we have this year, since Street Fighter 4 is so mainstream, I want to make sure that we make up posters that are more appealing to just a casual player. Because someone who just plays Street Fighter in their dorm is not going to care that Justin Wong and some other big name player in the West Coast, they're not really going to care about these names. So we're going to emphasize the nice venue that we have. We're just going to have a thing about professional, basically players going to be here, hundreds of players,
Right.
and kind of hype it like that because you really have to know your audience.
Right.
So
very good.
when we're
Very good.
when
Very
we're hyping
clever.
for SRK, it's going to be a different message on the thread to get people to come here than just trying to appeal to casual players.
Right.
We're going to try to target that this year.
Nice. Very cool. I'm sure you'll get a lot of people, like you said, coming out of their dorm rooms playing Street Fighter 4, coming down to Momo's.
We hope so. I am worried about that it's pre-register only this year. We'll really have no choice but to take some walk-ins.
Yeah.
But the brackets are really going to have to be made, and then we can just fill people in who come off the street, run things on time this year. So I'm hoping that doesn't. I think we'll get really good numbers, but I just hope that it's not going to deter too many people.
Yeah, I mean, somebody could be looking at it like, oh, I'll do it later, or I'll do it the day before, I'll do it a couple nights before, and then they don't do it.
Yeah.
And then they show up.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm sure Evo, because they've been pre-reg. Well, I think, in 2007 I paid at the door because I was too late to do the online, but I think, I could be wrong, I thought in 2008 they were online only, and I know this year they were, but they're obviously not depending on a lot of, just local casual people. Like, we still get that scene, even though, we get all these big players and everything.
Right, yeah. Yeah, there really isn't a casual fighting game scene, I don't think, in Vegas. It's more of a specialty thing.
Yeah, probably. I know they've got some good players out there, but I'm sure that with the casuals, it's probably not,
Yeah. All right, well, I think we covered a good bit of some of the, I don't know, not secrets of the tournament organizing trade, but things people may not think about when they first start out, especially the thing about communication. That's very important. You've definitely got to be a very patient and steadfast individual. Otherwise, these players, they'll eat you alive.
And I can just real quick, I can give one other example of like a very bad example of that.
Go for it.
There was someone I was trying to help, someone who just started with the Street Fighter 4 scene being new, and this is, I hope this isn't about like, I edit this part out. I was trying to not like implicate anyone directly. People are probably going to think I'm talking about someone.
Replace all names with like, I don't know, names from a television show, and then it will just be a storybook example of, bad dealings in the tournament.
The example that I was going to give, it might sound like I'm talking about a more well-publicized tournament that I'm not trying to talk about. That's not the example that I'm using.
That's the disclaimer. We are simply talking about an example. This tournament is entirely fictitious. It may or may not have happened, and this is just a not necessarily hypothetical, but pretty much truthful example of things that you should not do. So please continue, and remember, replace all names with names from a cartoon show, I don't know, like Jackie or Uncle, whatever.
I'm trying to remember the names of the gummy bears off the top of my head, but they're not
remember.
coming. It's been too long.
Call them Bubbles, Buttercup, and Blossom. It's cartoons from my era.
But yeah, long story short, it was a smaller tournament. You know, like a guy who obviously was trying to run Street Fighter 4,
The
and
professor.
just just run, like a smallish kind of tournament and just see what he could do.
Mm-hmm.
And I PM'd him and I was like, oh, if you need help, I'll come down there and help you run it and everything. And if you need some advice on doing brackets, how to deal with the players, like what players expect, prize money, I'll gladly volunteer all that information.
Nice.
Just pretty much everything, all the tournaments in like Indiana or Ohio, especially just pretty much these two states. Every tournament that I go to, I try to do as much as I can, to help out.
Right.
Like I've had to step in at a couple tournaments and be like, oh no, you should probably switch these people around the bracket,
Right.
Like it just like most players around here, I just want everyone to have a a good time, and so I try to help.
People mostly appreciate that? I mean, they don't feel like you're butting in or anything?
No, I mean, even if they do, it's like I can't even worry about it.
Because you just know that it has to be this way.
Yeah, pretty much. Like that. It sounds kind of kind of dicky or kind of controlling or whatever, but like I've been to a couple of tournaments where it wasn't running smoothly.
Yeah.
So I just kind of had to come in and be like, okay, if we want to get this done, like you need to do this and let me do these things over here, and then we'll get it running, fine. Like when you're running a tournament, like I was saying about communication, you have to communicate with your players, but you also have to stand your ground on something that needs to be done, and you can't worry about like being like a control freak when you're trying to run a tournament, because someone has to be the control freak to get stuff running like properly.
Well, it's cool that what you just said, you didn't just dictate, you actually you said you would go there and do this, so you were actually getting your hands dirty and helping them out.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Definitely lends credence to your argument that it's definitely best for the tournament. It's not just like you being nitpicky. It's like, no, this is really going to work, and I'll help you do it.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's going to be different, management styles, and everyone just has a different style of running things. But, when it comes to, like, how the brackets are getting made, like, if one game is, not being called because they only have, like, one person, they might have a bunch of games on one laptop, and that just might be slowing things up because the guy on the laptop can't keep up with all the games, so it's like I always come prepared. Like I always have my laptop if, it's needed, things like that.
Yeah. Nice.
But, anyway, my example was just that, so I was trying to help this guy, give him some advice and everything, and he changed, people were complaining, and I was trying not to complain. I was trying to say, here's probably, you want to make these changes probably because that's what players expect out of a good tournament. So he was making some of the changes, and then, but I could kind of tell, like, he didn't really like having to cater like this, even though he didn't say it explicitly. Like, I could tell that he was kind of getting, like, a little antsy about it. And so then he had to make another change to the tournament, like, last minute. And I was like, man, you should probably just, focus on, like, your next one, because this isn't looking too good for your tournament. And he basically just, like, he kind of went ballistic on me and threw a couple PMs. And he was like, it's not my fault that this happened, and why is everyone, like, coming down on me and everything? And so I just threw my hands up and, stopped talking to him.
Had a little nervous breakdown, did he?
Yeah, he just really went off on me. And I was just like, no one's blaming you, dude. It's this is what happened. This is the circumstances. It's not your fault.
Right.
But it's saying, like, if you want to really run a quality tournament, you want to have all your ducks in a row. And, the best way to do that is to hold off on this tournament. And he just, like, he was just, like, throwing insults my way and, cursing.
Wow. The professor had a little bit too much chemical X.
Yes. Yeah, he was definitely on some mind-altering substances.
Well, whoever this professor is in real life, let him know if he happens to listen to my podcast, which would not be odd, but would be an interesting coincidence. Because I would like to reach everyone. But
Of course.
let him know that this is all in the best of meaning, and that his daughters, Bubbles, Blossom, and Buttercup, were not harmed in the making of this podcast.
Yes, there you go.
Not greatly, anyways. Well, never mind. I shouldn't make that joke. That's a bad joke. I'll leave that joke for later when the podcast is over. I don't think I want to put that up on the air.
Put it on the outtakes on the X-rated podcast.
On the X-rated podcast, yeah. Yeah, that was definitely X-rated. Oh, well, first thought wrong, I guess. I think that's like some motivational speaker said that a long time ago. Anyways, all right. So, yeah, we talked a good deal about just general tournament organizing. Definitely some tips and tricks that I'll probably, more than likely, reach into my bag of tricks and pull back out when the time calls for them. So let's see here. Would you like to talk about some game strategy, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Now, do you feel more comfortable talking about Marvel or Third Strike right now?
Either one, pretty much.
Cool.
There's I think some of the things that I was gonna some of the things that I was gonna talk about were just kind of like general strategies that you could apply to like Third Strike, like SFHD, or even Marvel or whatever.
Okay. Well, I think we can do that for maybe 10, 15 minutes, depending on how long, and then go right into what you wanted to talk about the players who have elevated themselves beyond the typical tourney player and how they did it. I think that's very interesting, so we'll definitely get to that. For right now, though, let's talk Marvel. Let's talk Marvel.
Do it. I was just playing last night.
Nice. Were you playing on Dreamcast or the 360?
Yeah, I was playing. I went to my friend's house, Alan, who's MBC2 fanatic on the Cleveland forum. He's a Texas player, and he moved here for medical school. So he's taking an off semester. It's pretty hard, so he's got a little more Marvel time right now.
Nice. All right. Well, so where was your mind headed for Marvel?
I suppose I don't really have any specific Marvel tips, because the way I play, I'm a very basic player. My Sentinel is like really basic. I hit Fast Fly every once in a while and everything, but I just play Team Scrub with Cammy instead of Commando. So I play Cable, Sentinel, Cammy, and I pretty much just try to do damage.
Right.
Silly as that sounds, I don't really have a lot. I just play safe, and I just try to do damage. Like, I don't have flashy combos with Sentinel or anything. I'm just more of like a chip kind of player, and just like play smart, and that can really make up for. Like, I've played a lot of people who can play, Magneto, and they can play Storm, they can do a ROM and everything, but it's like their tactics just, aren't very good. So it's like I can, roll kind of people like that, and at least hang with better players much more skilled technically than myself. I can hang with because I can block well.
Nice.
Pretty much.
There you go. It's a very important skill, and sometimes I wonder if my stick is not broken or if I'm hitting punch button too much.
Yeah.
Because I get hit when I am trying to block. But oh well, so does everyone. Let's see.
Marvel, you just have to sit down and learn that game. Like, especially to all the newer people picking it up. You John, who's a SF legend on the boards, also known as Nash. He's been a very good Tekken player for a number of years. The Cleveland, we got a couple good Tekken players up here, and he just started playing Marvel after Seasons Beating 3, and he really buckled down to learn Marvel. He knew about the game, but he didn't know how to play it, and he had especially no experience in the game really. And he's become like a very competent player, now, and that's took him about 8 months of going on the boards, absorbing knowledge, and you got to Marvel especially is a game that you got to practice.
Right.
If you can practice it every day. Just go into training mode, practice your combos.
Dude, let's talk just a touch on the tier list just a little bit. So John, for example, did he start out with like Team Scrub and then move his way up to people like Storm and Magneto or Sentinel?
Yeah.
Okay.
because he basically learned Scrub from playing against my cable because my cable's pretty good,
Hmm.
and so he just kind of tried to emulate how my cable works and everything, and our other friend who just moved here last year, I know how Magneto and Storm work obviously, but I'm not very good with them.
Hmm.
So I could tell him like, oh, here's the stuff that you need to do. Like I can't show it to you, but here's the kind of things that you need to look up to be good with these characters.
Hmm.
And our other friend Alan, he plays Marvel and he knows how to play those characters. So he had a lot to teach him too, because Texas has some really really talented Marvel players. They've got a really cool scene down there.
Nice.
So yeah, you just have to don't waste your time playing low tier. We were making fun of a dude that Alan knows who he he always says that he's like, oh, I'm just like VDO because he plays Guile, Sentinel, and like Tron or some stupid ass team, and he's like, oh, I'm like VDO because I play a low tier. It's like, you have freaking Sentinel and Tron on your team. That's not a low tier team. Just because you have a low tier character on point, that's not a low tier team. And B, well, I'll talk more about B later because VDO was one of the guys I wanted to highlight in terms of like how you can become a known player.
Okay, cool.
In whatever game that you want to play. But yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad about the low tiers because I like Anakaris. He's funny to play, but oh well.
Oh, he's good. Like he's got. Do you know who Derek Lernslow is?
I heard about him. Who did I talk to? I think
He's
it was it might have been Josh Travis or someone. He had mentioned Derek Lernslow, that he had actually learned some, maybe not Marvel, but some game from him.
Yeah, Lernslow is a really really good Marvel player, and I'm sure. I think I don't know how close he is to Beats of Devil, but Beats has gotten pretty good now too. And I know Beats is also using Anacris.
Ooh.
And you should try to find some videos because there's some really silly shit that you can do with him. He's got
It's like
some high
his little hands. It's like I always try to get it, but I always seem to be just like a little bit off, and I'm like, that would be so cool to grab somebody with that.
Yeah, he's really hard to use, but I mean he can do damage.
Such is my life, Sea Viper player, so I can handle the tears and the pain and the beating on arcade sticks. It's all right. All right. Well, I've always been curious. When people say combos in Marvel, I think, okay, combos in Tatsunoko. You shoot them up into the air and you hit them. You may get a super off or something to that. But Marvel's a lot more complex with the assists.
Yeah.
So when you say combos, do you mean using assists, using air combos, or a mixture of both?
Oh yeah, it's all. The assists are so important to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like how Psylocke is, there's such a difference between, let's say you've got the game's been going and you've got Magneto and I was gonna say, why would you ever have Magneto and Commando on a team? But if you have Storm and Commando or Storm and Psylocke, that's such a difference between having Storm and Magneto as your assist. Like Magneto, his disruptor is good, but Psylocke and Commando are such dominating assists that pretty much if you are a decently smart player, you can really beat people with just an assist. So the assists are really important for combos, but just using your assists is so important to the game that you can, if you have a high damage assist like Commando, you can really tear someone up just with Commando and being defensive.
Right, yeah. Now, when you said that having Magneto and Commando on a team is basically useless, what do you mean?
Well, it's not useless, but that's I can't think of a team, like a set team, because the people talk about Marvel as if these are the only teams that you can play. You know what I mean? Right. And I don't know if it's right or wrong. I don't really care. That's just how, like, there are set teams, that people tend to use. Like Santhrax, which is Storm, Sentinel, Commando. MSP, Magneto, Storm, Psylocke. Rotron is Magneto. Is that Magneto, Cable, Sentinel? Yeah, and then Reverse Row is Sentinel, Cable, Magneto. So you've got set teams that people know and mainly use. So there's just the game has been so like battle tested that the dynamics of these teams, have been set in stone for like a number of years.
I got you. Now,
So
do these teams, like changing the order and things like that, seems arbitrary, maybe to someone who's just looking at it for the first time. But does that mean that completely different super and assist setups are possible?
yeah, it's very different because like with Rotron, you can play Rotron in reverse row.
Right.
Rotron, Magneto, Cable, Sentinel. When you play that in reverse, you definitely wouldn't ever play reverse row against like Scrub because it's the team order and everything is all about it's all about counter picking. It's basically like Super Turbo on the Marvel scale. Like for instance, I play Scrub, which has a decent fighting chance against Santhrax. So I play Cable, Sentinel, and Cammy, which normally would be Commando in a true Scrub team.
Right.
They do something similar. That's a good team against Santhrax because if I am able to beat up Storm with my Cable on point, or I can even start Sentinel to fight Storm if I want to, and then I've got a fresh Cable to fight Sentinel. Because Cable destroys Sentinel in this game.
Yeah.
Very, very hard fight if you're a Sentinel fighting a Cable. So, so I know the Santhrax fight. I know MSP is definitely should destroy Scrub, but it's like how I learn how to block and everything. So
Right.
I don't completely. It's a hard match, and when you've got a really good Magneto, there's not much you can do anyway with that team. But I played it a lot. MSS is a counter to Team Scrub. Magneto, Storm, Sentinel is a counter to my team. So when I play that team, that team makes me piss my pants because that's a lot of like just good characters that I'm gonna have to get through who have more options than my Cable does. So that's what the whole deal is with playing these teams, in different orders and everything. It's just think of it like Super Turbo. It's counter teaming.
Interesting. No, I've heard that the Japanese are definitely not as good as the U.S. at Marvel. Is there any truth to that? Can you comment on it?
Yeah, I don't know why, but they just didn't really play the game.
Hmm.
I mean, that's about it. They don't have like a big scene. They just didn't really play the game like we did.
Interesting.
I heard that, I have no idea if this is true. I read that like a Japanese player invented the ROM Infinite, which is Magneto's Infinite that he can do on anyone, where you super jump up, light kick, and you dash down, light kick on the way down, and that's Infinite. I read that a Japanese player invented that a long time ago, but I have no idea if that's true. Extent of my Japanese Marvel knowledge.
Right. Yeah, it's cool. Event Hub actually has a Capcom 2 tier list, individual ranking, and popular team choice list. It's pretty interesting to look at.
Yeah, my friend was just complaining that Iron Man is number 5 on the tier list now, and he's like, no way, Cyclops is definitely a way better character than Iron Man.
Well, it looks like he should be happy because they've swapped it around. Cyclops is now number 5 and Iron
really?
Man is 6.
Huh. Yeah, Iron Man is just really hard to play.
Yeah.
Like, if he was easier to play, he'd be higher. But not everyone can play him like, Josh 360 or Beats has got a good Iron Man too. He can definitely win some games for you, but he's very hard to use.
Yeah, it's interesting. Very cool list. Roll is at the very bottom is Roll.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's Team Suck. Dan, Serve Button, Roll, the worst 3 characters.
Actually, Dan is not. He's definitely not one of the worst in Marvel. Like he's pretty. I think he's pretty solid mid tier.
Nice.
Like Ryu really sucks in Marvel. I don't know if I'd put Ryu below Dan or anything, but they're not really. I don't think they're that far apart even.
Well, they've got Dan at 54th and Ryu at 32nd, so they definitely have a distinct opinion on that one. Go figure. Where's Ken at? Oh, he's 30. Well, there's Team
Way
Shoto.
better than Ryu. That's retarded. That's stupid then. I can't think of 30 characters who are better than Ken. I don't know about that. They just haven't seen video play, I guess.
Right, exactly. Oh, that was amazing. Kinfinite. Goodness. Yeah. That was cool stuff to watch. Let's see here. So we talked a little bit about assists. Let's see here. Wish I knew more about Marvel. Well, let's see here. Since I don't, what kind of question do I have? Let's see. Well, I guess something that's on my mind right now is the PS3 version, and that glitch, that Air Hyper Viper Beam glitch.
Yeah.
What's up with that? I mean, have they patched it yet? What's going on?
I'm probably, as soon as I get my converter from LAF, I'm probably going to get the 360 version, because I'm kind of I'm hoping for our purposes that Marvel is run on the Dreamcast forever. Like that's my hope. I don't think it's going to happen, but with mixes and with the game being perfect, and the sound, even the sound effects are all messed up on the new downloadable. It sounds it sounds a lot like the PlayStation 2/Xbox version, and it's just like those aesthetics. It's like I'll just play the perfect version. I don't really need to play offline the new version of Marvel. But I'm sure they'll patch that because that's a pretty huge glitch.
Yeah.
Air Hyper Viper Beam unblockable. Well, it's not unblockable, but you can't. The glitch, for if you don't know about it, is you, our audience, not you, O Siren, is if you do the Air Hyper Viper Beam anywhere on the screen and the opponent was not already blocking, you're supposed to be able to block the beam after the Super Flash if you're not doing anything. And I guess in the downloadable, that's got screwed up.
That's crazy. I don't see how that would work if they apparently used the Dreamcast code.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say anyone's a liar, but it's just weird how similar the PlayStation 2 and Xbox versions. I think it's weird how similar those games look and sound compared to the downloadable. Like, I don't know if the code is just like, if you're going to take the code and put it on a new platform, that's how the code is going to happen. It's going to turn out, but it just really feels like, those two versions, playing the game and looking at the game and everything.
Interesting.
Like, the sound effects, like, it's really weird. They just sound like all muffled and like the old, like the PlayStation 2 version.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just fun. It's great to have it, online now.
Yeah.
And like Fuji was telling me that everyone's playing it, and as long as you don't take it really seriously, because you're gonna get pissed off if you're a serious Marvel player. But it's just a way to play other people that you're never gonna be able to play otherwise, and just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Don't be like, oh, I beat this guy, 1 game out of 10, and he's some great player. Or, don't be doing fucking money matches on it or anything. But it's really fun. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of hope that it goes to PS3 and they get it all patched up and make it as perfect as it can be, just so it would be more accessible to people. Because the Dreamcast version, while it may be better and more established as far as the general scene, it's still a little hard for people to get involved with it because, oh, I don't have a Dreamcast stick, or you want me to buy a copy of a game for $80? Goodness.
Yeah, it's always been people just being whiny about Marvel.
Yeah.
Dreamcast, I bought a spare Dreamcast for $10 a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Like, it's never been hard to find Dreamcast. And, the only thing would be if you don't have a Dreamcast stick, you buy a $20 converter.
Yeah.
Wow. And then, because you can just friggin' run copies on a Dreamcast. Like, sorry, everyone plays on custom Marvel mixes. So people are like, we're going to buy one on eBay. It's like, no, you just someone will make you a copy if you want to play Marvel.
Right.
And chances are someone will teach you Marvel because it's the friggin' best game ever made.
Right. There you go.
People have just always been, I just kind of like half laugh at people when they're making excuses why they couldn't, start playing Marvel or whatever.
Yeah.
People would be holding on to their PlayStation 2 copies, and those would be worth, like, I told one person in Cleveland, I was like, sell that piece of shit port, buy a Dreamcast for like $15, and buy a converter for $20, and you can play, the right version that everyone else is playing.
Yep, makes sense. I'm gonna wait and see on what happens with these PS3 and 360 versions, and if it does turn out that the Dreamcast is the way to go, then I might have to buy a converter and see if I can get a copy of the game, because I still have my Dreamcast, still sitting in the closet. It really is one of the best systems, man. I gotta say.
Yeah, it definitely had the best 2-year run of any system ever, I think.
Too bad though.
360's got a lot of good games, but nothing had the creativity that Sega had back when Sega was strong. Games, they didn't just pump out like the same kind of format to their games. Like, they made really creative games, and just stuff that people remember like for years afterwards.
Oh yeah. every weekend, just about. Me and my friends, or at least them, I'll sometimes just watch, but they'll play Power Stone, and it's pretty fun.
Sweet.
Well, all right. Let's see here. Uh, Got about 17 minutes left, so let's go ahead and jump in to, if we have time for like third strike strategy, we'll give it a talk. But for now, let's go into the biggest thing you wanted to talk about, and that's the players making themselves, elevating themselves. And since we are on Marvel, and you wanted to talk about him anyways, let's move the conversation on to VDO.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a good idea to share a couple guys who from the Midwest. I was going to talk about Damned Eye a little bit too.
Okay.
But it's one of the things that I just don't think people like. I hear, it's fun to like talk shit and everything, online, like people do. But I just get the feeling from a lot of people from our region that no one really understands still like what it takes to like elevate yourself to become like a nationally known player. A lot of people just think like, oh, I can play online and that counts and I'm powering up, or oh, I go to like the one major like in my region, every year, and that makes me like a good player and everything. But
Right.
There's very like I've said in the thread before, and we talked a little bit about it, before. There's a couple things that you can do, but I just thought of a couple other ways to really exemplify how to get your name out there if that's what you really want, because I don't think people are going about it the right way most of the time.
Well, it sounds good. So go ahead, and what are those things?
Well, yeah, so VDO, one of the reasons that he is a nationally known name in Marvel is that A, he travels to pretty much all the, he usually travels to all the...
Still there?
Sorry, I lost my mic there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so he goes to all the majors, number one. But number two, he uses, not a gimmick team, obviously, but he plays a noteworthy team. Nobody else plays the team that he plays in Marvel when he plays Rogue, Colossus, Ken. And he doesn't talk shit, but he goes on the boards, and he I don't even want to say talks himself up, because he's a really cool guy, but people know where he's going to be, and he's cool to hang out with as well. And he openly challenges people too with this team. I think both those things are really important. He plays a noteworthy team that he's giving this team recognition and everything. And one of the other main things that I wanted to tell people, like, to get your name out there, is to play a lot of money matches. And money match people, are better than you, but you have a chance to beat.
Right.
And so if you lose a money match like that, like, no one is really going to care. It's just going to be like, oh, that was
right. They only care when you beat them.
Yeah, and so it's not, no one's going to like hold it against you. If you money match someone, for $20-$30 and you lose and they're a better player than you. But if you beat that player, like, people are definitely going to talk about it. Like VDO, was not for money, but he beat Potter, I believe, in the tournament at Evo this year. No one is going to say like, oh, Potter beat VDO. Like, no one would talk about that. But for VDO to beat Potter, in the tournament at Evo, like, that's going to get him recognition. And so you can't control who you face in a tournament, but you're going to get recognition if you beat a good player in a tournament, A, and B, challenge people to money matches. And it's good for you. You can objectively look at your skill versus a lot of other people if you're playing for money, because the person's just not going to be fooling around with you, like, they're going to want to take your money.
Exactly.
That's one thing that the Midwest is really not big on. Like, nobody really does money matches. And I mean, if you want to be like that, that's fine. But if you want to really get your name out, that's a really good way to do it. Play people for money, because you'll be playing them at your best. It creates hype. People really need to start doing that more, in my opinion.
It makes sense to keep people, because just in casuals, somebody could just pick like a secondary character against you, or they could just sandbag.
And so I thought BDO has done both of those for a long time, and he's not afraid to play anyone for money.
Mm.
And so I mean that's part of why he's a nationally known player.
Very cool. All right, so Damned Eye. I've heard the name, but I'm not too familiar. So who is
Yeah,
he?
I just wanted to briefly touch on him because he's not from the Midwest, but I just thought he was a good example because he's a newer Super Turbo player.
Hmm.
He's only been playing seriously for a couple years. I was talking to him actually right after he got back from Evo this year. We were playing Street Fighter 2 online, and yes, I was congratulating him and everything because he got what did he get? He got like third or fourth in Street Fighter Remix. And I mean, here's a guy who's like pretty much a brand new player practically. This is an ancient game,
Mm-hmm.
and he just stepped in a short amount of time and became a national name. And one of the other things that he did, the first time that I heard of him, and I told him this, was he was experimenting with Akuma's properties in Street Fighter 2 Remix,
Mm-hmm.
and basically made a point of getting Akuma banned from tournaments. And so that's how I started seeing his name all over the place. I was like, oh, this really good Akuma player, who's great with him, but he's also trying to get him banned.
Right.
So he became part of like this national dialogue with that, and he had the skill, to participate in this conversation.
Right.
And so I just thought that was an interesting thing that you can be someone new, and come to the national stage.
Nice.
Yeah. And again, he travels a lot. He's got, I guess, a good scene wherever he is, but he's an online player mostly. But he started going to all the majors, and you start seeing his name, in the top 5, like in all these majors, and it's like, who is this guy?
Right.
So I mean, and now, Evo top 5. So that's what you got to do. You can't just go to like Midwest championships, like if we're Midwest players,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't just go to like seasons meetings. You really need to try to get the final round. You should try to get to the Canada series if you can.
Ooh, the Canada series. I haven't heard of that. What's that?
Yeah, the T series, T10 is I believe this weekend.
Huh.
Yeah, those guys are incredibly skilled. The top Canada players, they're very, very skilled at Street Fighter.
Do they have a thread on Shoryuken?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of hype this year. I'm not really sure why. But
I've never heard of it.
yeah, it's like Canada's big national tournament, basically.
Oh, wow.
And obviously a lot of U.S. players go to it.
Sounds pretty cool. Hopefully they'll have it again next year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They have it every year. They're up. This is the number 10th tournament now.
Oh, okay, I get it. T10.
But yeah, so, just go to all the majors and, pretty much, if you want to be like a good player.
Cool. Are there any other players in particular you had in mind? NKI?
Yeah. Well, I haven't talked about Alucard,
Okay.
and I thought he'd be a good person to have on the podcast too. Like,
Yeah.
so he's banned from SRK, so you're not going to see his name on right now for reasons that are beyond the podcast.
Yeah.
But here's another guy. He kind of just came from the woodwork, and I met him at final round, and right when we were checking in, I was with Fuji, and the Michigan guys are there, so we say, oh hey, what's up to the Michigan crew, and I never seen this Alucard guy before, and they were talking like they kind of talk like a little bit of shit and everything. So I think they must have been talking about Third Strike, and I was like, what, are you crazy? I've never even heard of you. I'll play you, for whatever amount you want in Third Strike.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were like, oh yeah, let's do it then. And I was like, wow, this guy's really gonna try to play me, because like I'm probably one of the best players in the region and everything. And I've got a lot of confidence when I'm playing most people at Third Strike. And we ended up not playing for money because his stick the stick that a couple of the guys were using got stolen at Final Round. And we ended up just playing casuals, but he beat me in the set that we were going to play. He beat me in casuals, and it came down to the last match and everything, but the dude beat me. And I was like, wow, man, he plays very unorthodox. And he had a really weird style and everything, and that's one of the things that sets him apart too. If you have a weird style and you can win with it, people might say like, oh, you're gimmicky, or you're just like doing a lot of guessing games or whatever. But A, at least people are talking about you, and B, you beat them, so you can't take that away.
Right.
And so I definitely respected this Alucard guy, just coming out of the woodwork, and he talks shit and everything, but he can he backs it up, and he's also a really cool guy in person. And sure enough, this year. I think it was this year, the GameStop finals. He got like third in the GameStop national tournament. And, that's, if you're going to talk shit, you got to play people for money. You got to go to tournaments. You got to do well in tournaments. And, that's how you really get your name out there. And, I think Alucard's been pretty good doing that.
So he lives in Michigan?
Yeah, I think he's Detroit scene.
I have to see if I can get a hold of him.
Yeah, I have his number. I'll try to give him a call.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah, and then obviously he goes to, more than Midwest Championships too. He's been, traveling all around as much as he can to play these games.
Right. Did he make an appearance at EVO this year?
He might be banned because, the Wizards.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Run EVO. But
yeah, oh, well.
I'm not sure. I don't think he was there. I think VDO went with Flap. I don't know who else he went with from Michigan.
Well, that's too bad. Oh well, like you said, beyond the scope of this podcast, so no need to get into it. Let's see. Kojiro-san is someone else that you had listed.
Oh yeah. Sean Howard from Columbus. He's a Guilty Gear player.
Yeah, I've heard the name. Okay.
Yeah, he's really cool too. I've known him for a long time. He's pretty much how he got to be good at Guilty Gear is, we had a strong scene in the Midwest anyway. So, he and our dude Kenji, who's really good, but he was in school, so he couldn't play as much as he wanted to, but he was still one of the best people. Like, I don't know if he's one of the best people in the country, but he was up there as well. So, these two guys, playing Guilty Gear all the time. And then Sean, to get really good, he's been in Japan to train up in Guilty Gear, and he also moved to Chicago to play. Juicy G was George from Chicago, top player. He moved to Chicago for a while, and he got really good there, and then he took it back here to Ohio, and he's SBO qualified right now. So I think he's probably going to be leaving, I guess, next week to go to SBO.
Yeah, I was going to set up a podcast with him, but it didn't quite pan out. So that's too bad. But no, it was really cool. I was very impressed that someone from the Midwest had gotten SBO qualified. It's very cool.
Yeah, Midwest, the main thing, Guilty has always been like a Midwest kind of game for whatever reason. You got a lot of, probably more skill. Like, Flash Metroid is really good from Florida. Garvin is really good from Florida, and I'm sure Cali has some players. But Midwest has been really good at Guilty Gear. Like, that's probably our best game overall, like, as a scene.
It's probably because it's so weird, the aesthetics. Something about the Midwest, I don't know. Got some weird people around here.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing.
Okay. Let's see here. Is there anyone else off the top of your head or anything in general? I think that there were a few good notes. Definitely traveling to majors, challenging people to matches for money, and then having something noteworthy about either your character, team, or play style. Very cool notes.
And it's not, like, you got to be noteworthy, but you also got to figure out, you got to learn the fundamentals of the game enough that you're really not winning on gimmicks, because once people figure out your gimmicks, if that's the kind of player you are, you might beat them in a tournament, but when they sit down to play you for money, they're going to adapt really quick and, get you. So, get your fundamentals up there. But, yeah, not enough people do the money match thing in the Midwest. And I think it's really important to not back down from challenges, to want to see how you fare against people, and not worry about, losing a couple bucks either. It's valuable experience, and, it's it can give yourself a spotlight too when you play people for money.
Right. Yeah. Even if it is just a couple bucks.
Yeah. I mean, I played Justin for money in Third Strike just to see, how I would do against him, and that was a couple years ago. I wouldn't play him for money now, so I don't really play the game as much anymore. But I played him. He mirror matched me Denjin Ryu, it was really good, because this is part of what I've said before, how a lot of players, you don't understand the gap between you and top players when you're just watching videos and stuff. And playing Justin for money, I could see the very tiny little minute things that you wouldn't ever pick up on a video when he's playing someone else. I could see the little differences that he has in his game, the spacing differences, his reaction time. I could experience that firsthand, and I could be like, okay, wow, that's that's how you get good at this game. So I've got a clear picture what I need to do to get better at this game.
Right.
And you can get that from Money Match.
Yeah, it makes sense. Very cool. I'll have to bring a few extra bucks to the next tournament I go to. Lay some dollars on the PS3.
Yeah, that's what I put in the thread too, because I know a lot of players probably aren't familiar with how money matches, people like to do money matches and everything, and so I just made a note of that just to try to get people to do it. It's a good experience.
Right. Very cool. All right. Well, we've only got a couple minutes left. I guess we can go ahead and wrap it up. It seems like it's a pretty high energy, and I don't know. We can find some closing remarks. Not really sure what. A little summary. We did seasons beatings, a little bit about tournament organizing. Very cool information. I think people are really going to appreciate the talk we just had, the conversation about trying to, elevate yourself as a player. A little bit of Marvel strategy. Never hurts. Always love it. Hopefully I'll get better at Marvel as time goes by.
It requires a lot of work. You really got to focus on that game. To anyone who wants to play Marvel.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll just use Anacharis for funsies. And then devote my time to being frustrated playing Sea Viper in Street Fighter 4. But, let's see. Closing remark. I've got nothing. I'm drawing a blank, but I don't know. Do you have any parting words of wisdom?
Yeah, I think the only other thing I was going to say about like general strategy and fighting games and everything is to the way you really take apart these games and take them to the next level is you want to do moves and you want to come up with strategies that cover multiple like scenarios at the same time. Like in Third Strike, that means doing a lot of option parry, which means you're putting in like fake parries in your game, like just in case the other person does something. Like if they don't do anything, you'll walk forward and then you can throw them or whatever. Right. But if they do something, you'll parry it and then throw them.
Nice.
Like the way to really be successful at these games is to do to cover multiple options at once, to control space, to what was I gonna say? Yeah, to you really want to play safe too. Like a lot of people, like you just kind of throw out like random pokes and everything, but you want to examine your game so that if you're throwing out pokes, you want to do it in a way that it can't be retaliated against. Pretty much.
Right. You
want to take less risks. You want to play safer. You want to just make sure your character's ass is covered, as much as you can in these games.
Right.
And yeah, I think it's at a general, like if you try to look at your game and you try to apply these things, you can really get a lot better. You can really improve just trying to play like safe, even in Marvel and everything. Marvel, every game you're going to have to apply these things. You need to play safe and you need to play smart.
Very cool. That sounds like a whole nother podcast, actually. Trying to trying to dissect a game's engine, trying to figure out what are those options that you need to cover, what within games, specific games, what in their engines are like the best things to do to cover as many of those blind spots as you possibly can. Very interesting.
Yeah, I could help with Marvel some. I can definitely, like, I don't even play Third Strike a lot anymore, but I've got a lot of Third Strike knowledge. So that kind of stuff, Third Strike immediately comes to my mind because I've got a pretty good handle on the engine, and there's just a lot of little things that I do, to be like, a good player and everything, and I'm doing a lot like behind the scenes, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's what you really have to do in all these games.
Cool. Well, Chris, thanks a lot for coming on. I really appreciate it. And let's see. Yeah, hopefully you can get a hold of Alucard for me, because I know he would be an excellent person to talk to. And yeah, it's really fun talking to you. A lot of great information. This is going to be a good podcast for people to listen to, definitely.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, all right then. I hope that we will get back together sometime soon, and with Fuji or just yourself, whichever, and talk a little bit more about Seasons Beatings 4 and what you guys have planned. Maybe do some sort of exclusive reveal of the main event that you guys
Yeah.
are planning.
Yeah,
But,
hopefully by the time this podcast goes on, our main event should be set in stone.
nice.
We're trying to, I'm hoping by even the end of next weekend, we'll be able to make the announcement online. Because as soon as we can do that, it affects, how we're going to, market our tournament to SRK. It pretty much affects everything. So
Nice.
we're
Yeah.
hoping it comes through. We're looking good, but we just need confirmation.
Well, good luck. Thanks for coming on, and I'll catch you later.
Yeah. Oh, and then one
Yeah.
final note is, really want to get good at something, go to Japan.
There you go.
Obviously. I'm going to Japan in September, so I might even be back by the time this podcast goes on.
Probably.
Yeah.
With my release schedule.
Yeah.
And then that'll be a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
Ghaleons
yeah.
Adventures in Japan.
Yeah. I'm not going just for games, obviously, but
Right.
I mean, I'm really going to just hang out. So I'm gonna even have 2 days where my friend is gonna be traveling, so I'm really just gonna be like in arcade for like 2 days when
Right.
I'm over there.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm definitely gonna be trying to power up.
Very cool. You're going to have to make a thread, man, with all your pictures and your shenanigans that you're doing over there.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm gonna take my tripod and set up some matches and everything.
Cool. Well, good luck. If I don't talk to you before then, have a safe trip. And
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later, man.
I'll
Thanks
see
for
you at
coming on.
Indy. I'll see you at the Indie
Oh,
tournament.
yeah, duh. I'll see you there.